primera temporada de Mirá a quién encontré. Nickelodeon es el encargado de iluminar nuestros días, el día de hoy especial, destinado a esa señal que nos acompañó a lo largo de toda nuestra infancia. Probablemente vimos más de un contenido, pero nunca supimos cuáles fueron los originales, los que le dieron vida a ese canal. Fíjate, dimos con 3 personas vinculadas a esos 3 programas con los que la señal empezó a caminar. Mirá a quién encontré.
I think a cartoon is maybe the best way to show the mind of a kid. And so your specific question, how related to my real world, especially the original stories, like that first season of Nicktoons, I would say they were extremely close.
I was completely and entirely involved in the creation of the show. Before there was a show, there was another show idea that John created called Your Gang. And it was like Our Gang comedies, like the Little Rascals. It was a parody of that. And Ren and Stimpy were like small characters in it. They were minor characters. They were the dog and the cat in the show. And Vanessa Coffey, the producer who created Nicktoons and was, responsible for Nicktoons happening, she said, well, do the dog and the cat. We like them. Do a show about them.
It was one of the first 3 original shows from Nickelodeon. The key demographics were like that 5 to 7 year old market, and it was one of 3 shows. The Rugrats. There was another show called Doug, and then Ren and Stimpy. So the thing was that Ren and Stimpy didn't play that well to that crowd. They played to a much older crowd and did so well for a while. But Rugrats was perfect for the families liked it. The crew was great.
It would take a special executive to see Doug in that early form and understand what it could be. And this executive, it happened for me, that the executive, her name is Vanessa Coffey, and she started Nicktoons. Every time I see her, I just hug her neck and just say, thank you for saying yes. Thank you for changing my life. And she'll usually say something like, well, you did the same for me, and, it's wonderful. This piece right here, I'm doing it so you can see it. You see Doug holding the shoes?
Yeah.
She looked at that, and she looked at me and said, we're going to go to pilot. It was a miracle. It really was. And I don't know of any executive that would trust their gut, as they say, to say that. To say, you got it, we're going to go with you. It wasn't just that I'm Doug, which I am, but it was a deep universe. And it was one that I think a lot of kids all over the world felt. Kind of that average kid. You're not the coolest guy, and you're not the big loser guy. You're like most kids. You're sort of in the middle and not sure of yourself and try stuff and mess up and all that. So it was amazing. It's just been amazing that it happened. So. Things Doug thinks about, like being Quail Man, being a superhero, or like a James Bond character like Smash Adams, or any of those characters, meaning I thought about that stuff all the time. It was sort of a way to play out how to rise above your averageness, to be important, to do something,
Is it possible to think of a revival?
The answer is yes, we've thought about it. And the answer to who owns the rights is Disney owns the right to make new things. The transition of Doug from Nickelodeon, from Nicktoons over to Disney, was a very hard, in some ways, a very difficult thing, because you never want to move something where people are used to it over here, and then you go, hey, it's over here now. But Nickelodeon, Nicktoons was finished at some point. They were finished, and they were just going to repeat it, and I wasn't. I didn't feel finished. And Disney came to me and said, we want it. We will take it and do things that will be amazing and blow your mind. And I said yes. David Campbell and I went to Disney about a year ago, I guess, and talked to them about that possibility of a restart. What I thought would be cool is to do what happened to Doug and all his friends? What was it like when he finished high school? What happened next?
Douglas Crispin Nariñas.
Con permiso, tengo que ir a graduarme.
This is a movie poster I did for this idea you and I are talking about. This would be like this thing we just talked about. Just something about that, as you can see, even from this thing. Yeah. I had it in mind to be a live action, and then somehow Quail Man is real. That there's something I haven't figured it all out.
Is it annoying to you that they always ask you the same questions about the colors of the characters?
It was something I didn't know that people would even notice. How to be, if you asked me what were the top 5 questions ever asked, it would always be there.
Yeah.
That one would always be. Think about I was in a unique, wonderful situation where I get to create a world. And at the time I had these things called design markers. They're just it's just a brand name, but but I had a huge rack. I mean, just many rack. Like, I bet you I had between 200 and 300 colors. Because it was a primary tool for me to do my graphic artwork for these other productions and things. And it's limited to various tones of blush color. It's another technical thing. It can't get too dark because then you can't see the line underneath. So now here's that moment where you're getting ready to apply these colors and you're looking at your 6 markers and you're looking now at an ocean of color choices. And I went, why? Who knows? Maybe the one time ever I can do anything. It can be anything. And so I started pulling out lavender or mauve or pink or just things that you don't normally go to. And it was a great turning point for me as a designer. And of course, it didn't take long until after I started seeing that the statement you can make without having to say it. That thing of it doesn't matter what color you are on the outside, it's what you are on the inside. And I just thought, that's it.
How was the creative process?
The cartoons that we were inspired by were Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny, things like that. And those cartoons weren't made for children. They were made for families.
Yeah. Kids
pretty much watched whatever their parents watched. So there was a whole lot more to cartoons then. There was a lot of danger and a lot of sophisticated humor and innuendo, things like that. So that's what we were inspired by, and that's the kind of cartoons we wanted to make. I don't really believe in talking down to kids, and I'm not even a big fan of making kids entertainment, because as soon as you decide a cartoon is just for kids, then you got psychologists leaning over your shoulder saying, you can't do that, kids shouldn't see that, you'll ruin their mind. We never had a show Bible or had any sort of concept of what the show was about or where it would be or any of that kind of stuff. And right off the bat, Nickelodeon tried to get us to like put them in the same house and have the same owners all the time, and they're actually just a dog and a cat. It's like, no, who wants to do that? That's stupid.
Cáscaras de nuez sucias y chicles masticados. Oh.
It's all about how you can sort of trick them into picking the stuff to cut out you want them to pick out. We would put what we call red herring jokes in, jokes that we knew were in terrible taste and would freak them out, and they were focused on us because we were the weirdos, you know. And so we were the troublemakers. So we put jokes in for them to take out. But sometimes they would take out the wrong jokes, and so some of the really good ones got through. But, you know, I think they understood that the edginess of the show was what made it popular. So they were as tolerant as, you know, common sense would allow them to be, I think. If, you know, a character is being real cute and cartoony, we'll draw them cute and cartoony. But if the character is being really psychotic and pushed to the edge, you know, we want to see all the tendons and veins in their necks and their eyes bulging out, and the veins in their eyes and their nostrils flaring and snot flying out of their nose, you know. Because, you know, real life is ugly, and that stuff's funny when you make fun of it, you know, especially when you show it close up and it's disgusting. And it was a lot of times when they would take something out, it would be better afterward because we'd have to be smarter about the joke or about the comedy, you know. An example is boogers. We couldn't say boogers, you know. So we changed it to magic nose goblins, which I think is funnier, you know. And then we made characters out of them, you know.
Es decir, que se han apoderado de lo que creíamos creer y nos hacen creer que creíamos que los pensamientos que hemos tenido son pensamientos que creemos que creíamos. Exacto.
I completely understand why it has things in common with Ren and Stimpy, because it started the minute Ren and Stimpy stopped, pretty much. Like, they were in production afterward. And I think SpongeBob was like Ren and Stimpy light. You know, it was like Diet Ren and Stimpy or something, you know. It was like not quite as disgusting, but still funny and goofy and cute, and, you know, and it has a lot in common with the show, to be honest. But a lot of people from Ren and Stimpy have worked on the show. And
who inspired the stories of the Rugrats?
Arlene Klasky and Gabor Chupel they're married, and then they had a couple of kids. So it was just integrating some of their experiences into these shows, and of course the writers developing those original ideas. So the whole idea of if the camera is really, really low and you're looking up, everything is an upshot like this. It's all a little distorted. It feels as if you are a child looking up at the world. Everything's big and grand. And so as a small kid, always experiencing this kind of different view of the world. And so that was the whole premise. The characters were coming out of that, of their lives. They had the two kids. And so they just started to imply things like, you know, I don't know, they would use the name of one of their doctors or something like that. And then they would turn it into a character. And then the writers would take off that. They'd say, you know what, it'd be funny if we made the doctor have this name, or it'd be funny if this preschool teacher said this. So it was all based on their experiences, but a little bit more than that, you know, like kind of in a really positive way. Fun, a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun with that show. It was always a positive message. It was never meant to be sarcastic or mean-spirited. It was always, in the end, it's pretty good. You know, even when we had episodes about bully. Some little kids. They say this, and then in the end, things would turn, so we'd see that they're bad guys. So there was always a positive message in those shows. Really, the whole idea of the Rugrats was that it was the kids' point of view. It was all these little kids. What do they see? How do they misunderstand what the adults are saying?
Comencé a raptar en un dinosaurio grande. Bueno, pero no importa, Carlitos. Me gusta estar en tu casa aunque coman este cereal horrible.
We want the audience to be really engaged with the story and with the character. It's a character-driven show. So we have a big ensemble cast. And the one character, Angelica, I don't know if it's the same name.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Yes, but Angelica, okay. But she of course understands what the kids are saying and what the adults are saying. And she still doesn't quite understand all the implications of the adult language. So that makes a lot of interesting stories. So they say, once you create good characters, then the stories can write themselves, theoretically. It's a little bit more to it than that. But I think it's a good point to make, is that you create a good cast of characters, and stories will always be much easier, because then you start to know, well, they wouldn't say that. They would say this. Then you start to flush it out. So there's both of these shows are script-driven. That means that unlike an old Warner Brothers cartoon, or even the kind of cartoons they do at Cartoon Network, those are storyboard driven first, then they record soundtracks, and they work from outlines. At Nickelodeon, they always work from scripts first. They develop the scripts, they record them, then they begin the storyboard. So it's a slightly different process. So we really try to flush out the story with a Nickelodeon process. Not that one is better than the other, they're just different.
Bien, hasta ahí las conversaciones tanto con Jim Jinkins, con Bob Camp, como con Steve Socki. Ojalá les haya gustado. Quedé choqueado con más de una explicación, con más de una anécdota referida a lo que eran los detrás de escena, de dibujitos con los que crecimos todos nosotros. Un saludo muy grande a la aplicación que me dejó en banda con la entrevista a Jim Jinkins. Hicimos lo que pudimos, reconstruimos todo el material que pudimos. Ojalá les haya gustado igual. Nos vemos nosotros la semana que viene, no sin antes pedirles por favor comentarios, compartan, difundan, muestren. Será hasta la próxima final de temporada.
Nickelodeon has, since we last talked, has started their archival unit that basically wants to preserve the bits and pieces that it took, that went into making their shows, whether it's the original Ren and Stimpy and Rugrats, or jump ahead to SpongeBob and all the other great shows that they've made. They want to start their archival of Doug, and we're having a conversation about what that means and whatever. As far as me doing one personally, I'm still looking for the right home for that. This studio is it's an awesome studio, and it would be a great place for that. I just think it would be great to put it where more people come through, and so I'm still thinking about that.